What's up YouTube, Winterguard here. Today we're going to get into key farming. And this is something that a lot of people are doing right now just because of the state of where the game is. Items is not that much of a big deal as it was early on. With all the farming that's going on and the ability to trade, just items in general have kind of fallen in value pretty good bit. There's still some certain high-end items that are pretty sought after that are really rare that still are holding a decent value, but at this point most of them are not. So we've moved into the point of torch farming from Ubers, and to do that you need to get the keys, and unfortunately keys are just time consuming to get. They're not that difficult to get, but usually it takes a lot of time to do it. For those that don't know, kind of a little bit of a newbie guide here. There's 3 different keys, and most people have probably seen the terror keys because you can start farming countess pretty early on if you're leveling. You know, most people get into hell, they'll probably run countess a few times just to get some runes or chance at some runes, and you just potentially had a key of terror drop. So that's probably the most common one out there. The second key is the key of hate. That comes off as the summoner, so that's only Act 2, but he's a little more of a pain to run since he could be on any point of the cross in Arcane Sanctuary. It's easy to kill, so it's just a matter of getting to him that kind of slows you down. And the last key is actually the key of destruction. That comes off of Nihlathak, and that one's a little bit of a pain. There's some difficulty involved there if you're trying to farm that key. I'll get into that in a little bit. So when it comes down to it, key farming is just time consuming. I think all total, I'll run the numbers, I'll put them up all on the screen real quick here. For the countess, it took me 39 runs total to get 3 keys. The summoner was a little quicker. I got him in 28 runs, and Nihlathak, it took me 43 runs to get the last key. There is the drop rates on the keys are fairly close. They're not exactly the same, but they're all like 1 in 12, 1 in 13, 1 in 14. All 3 of them are in that range of drop rates. You can't affect that by Magic Find. Magic Find has no play in that. The only thing that will increase the drop rate is player count. So if you're offline, you could just jack it up to player 7. I think 7 and 8 is pretty much the same. That will increase your chance of key drops. And if you're online, the more players in game, the better. So I mean, technically, you could jump into pub games where they're running cows or bale or something, and try and run keys before everybody leaves. That'll increase your chance on the drops. So you can do that. Again, Magic Find has no play on that. I'm not going to really touch on running countess and summoner. Those are pretty early on in hell, so they're not that difficult to do. But Nihlathak's a different beast. And what I'm going to do, I'll show you real quick the different ways to get to, or well, not different ways to get to him. He's easy to get to if you know these little tricks to it, and I'm going to show you those now. So to get to Nihlathak, first thing that's going to happen, you don't have to complete hell difficulty, but you need to have completed, it's called the Prison of Ice. Basically it's the rescue of Anya, which then opens up the portal where you'll find Pendleskin. And behind him is the entrance to the halls. So if you go here, you get the halls of anguish. This is basically level 1, and there is a waypoint in level 2. I'm not going to try and find it, but you'll get to the waypoint to Halls of Pain, which is in the second level. From here, there are 3 different possibilities of getting to the last stairs down to where Nihlathak resides. So I'm going to show you all 3 of those. If you look at the configuration here, the only exit's to the left here. So for this particular one, all you have to do is teleport over and then down. And bam. This will always be the case when you have that exit out bottom left. Okay, and this is our second example. If you see this here, this configuration, you have an exit to the right and one to the left. So in this case, see how this passageway just leads up this way? Just go that direction. And bam. This will always be the case. Honestly, it's probably not as much like this if you just kind of head straight across until you hit a wall and just go up. Either way, it's always going to be this direction. You'll always move to the left and kind of up this way. That's the second example of how you'll be able to get to Nihlathak. Okay, this is the third example, and it's going to be one of these three. It's always going to be one of these three, so you can once you've done this a few times, you'll know exactly where to go to get down to the stairs. You won't have to clear or fight your way there unless you're literally running it. If you're able to teleport, this is pretty easy. But you'll see here, it's not quite the same setup as the first example. This one comes more out of the bottom if you consider this the top, this is the bottom. And you'll see it doesn't go towards the left. You'll hit this corner. So if you just follow this down until you see this, you'll see the halls of anguish. Now when you get to this point, you just go up this next passageway, and it's always here. Again, just follow the passage down till you see the entrance up, and then just hang a left this way. Those are the three ways to get to Nihlathak's chamber, which is on the next level down. Okay, now that you're on the next level down, this is another cross similar to Summoner, nowhere as far, but you're going to have 4 different directions you can choose from to go find Nihlathak. He's going to be at the back of the chamber in one of these directions. But there is a tip or a little trick to this, and this is what I normally do. If you come here first and look at this section of wall, there will be a painting, and I'll show you an example. See these eyes right here? You'll see that here if he's in this direction. So this is blank, so he's not this way. So then what I normally do is check up this way. And if it's there, then he's this direction, so he's not this way either. And also, when you're first doing this, I would suggest just clearing this center area, putting yourself a portal down, kind of a just in case until you get comfortable with doing this run, because it can get a little dicey. So the first few times you do it, you might want to clear a little bit, just give yourself some breathing room. Once you've done it a few times, you could just teleport straight in and kill him. But until you've done it, I would suggest doing that. Okay, the next thing I do is check this way. Alright, and this wall here, see there's eyes? That means he's this direction. So what I normally do is I don't bother clearing anything. I normally just teleport straight back. We'll try it. It could be bad, but most cases, a lot of people die doing this run. It's just once you get used to it, you can do it a lot quicker and up your success rate in doing it without dying. So we'll go ahead and go down here. And I usually go back behind and throw a firewall to try and snipe him. Now he can be fire immune, so at that point I'll use frost, and he can be both. He can be cold and fire immune. A lot of times I just don't mess with it, because you could stomp on him, but these guys can hit pretty hard. And you don't necessarily have to kill him every single time. I mean, once you get good at it, you could probably do it. But I try and snipe him. There's multiple techniques depending on the character, depending on your setup, your gear. There's multiple ways to do this. But I normally telly to the back point behind him and try and snipe him with a firewall. If he turns out to be fire immune, I'll throw orbs. I'll try and get an angle on him to throw orbs. Um, if he's firing cold, I'll just leave. It's not worth messing with. You upping your chances of getting killed while you're dancing around trying to get your merc to kill him. He's always going to be surrounded by mobs, like you saw there. They're always cold immune. So, an advantage maybe if you're running Blizzard is if he's not cold immune, you could just throw the blizzard on top of him. You won't kill the mobs around him, so he can't corpse explode, and you can snipe him that way. So there's multiple ways to get at him. That was actually a pretty simple one. I've jumped in back here before, and it was an absolute murder house. There's more mobs than you can even see. There is an issue with I think they're called Venom Lords. They're the Venom Serpents. Their poison damage is outrageous. You'll go 100 to 0 in seconds. And I'm at full poison resist, and it will still drop me pretty quick. So you got to watch out for those guys. But the multiple ways to do it, I try and snipe him with Firewall. With my current setup, I'm running the hybrid spec. So I get back here, see where he's at, drop a Firewall on him. If he's fire immune, I mean, if you're not comfortable with it, just leave. It's not like it's that hard to get here once you get used to how to get to that point. So, there's a couple, I wouldn't say advantages. There's some side benefits to killing these guys as well, and I'll show you that here in a second. Nihlathak drops his monster level is to where he's one of the. If he drops a Grand Charm, those are one of the ones you could cube for the 45 life. It's like him, Diablo, and Bale are the Grand Charms that can do that. So if you get a Grand Charm off of him, you could cube it. He does have, if I'm not mistaken, he is a TC-87 treasure class. So I believe he drops every item in the game. I'll put it up on the screen just to double check. So you can get some pretty good drops off of him. So what armor was that? 448. Okay. So I mean, you can get good loot off of him as well as the keys. And of course, there's a side benefit to all of them. They all have a chance to drop loot. Nihlathak's, his is just higher. But while I was doing the filming for this, I'll show you what happened to me for Countess. So while I was running Countess today, this happened. We get in there and burn her down. And now she's always fire and cold immune, so you got to use the Merc for her. But she's, as you can see, I got an ohm drop off of her. So there is an added benefit to just running keys. So just in closing, wrapping this up, in all total, it probably took me almost 3 hours to get enough keys for a full set. So it's a pretty big grind. But I mean, it's pretty valuable. You could get some decent trade value for a full set if you're wanting to do that, or like I said, get somebody to run the set for you and get a torch out of it. If it's not one you're looking for, you could potentially trade it. Again, that comes with a little bit of a price. You usually have to compensate the person running Ubers for their time. But that's pretty much it. I just wanted to kind of show you what's involved with getting key sets. That's where kind of the grind is right now. I mean, there's people still running for loot, but people trying to complete the characters, getting torches for different characters, that sort of thing. So that's kind of where we're at this point. Hopefully, Blizzard does something soon as far as making an announcement regarding ladder. Just to touch on that, they did release at least partial patch notes for the 2.3 update that's coming out in December. Mainly just small quality of life stuff. It is big news for console, because if you're playing offline console single player, you can set your player count now, so that's a pretty big deal for the console players. They were kind of missing out on that. You could do that on PC from the get-go, but console could not do that. Outside of that, there's some small, again, quality of life stuff. Nothing that got me all that excited, to be honest. They did kind of leave it open-ended, though, saying that there will be bug fixes and further updates. Once they get closer, they'll have full patch notes at the time of the update. No date outside of it being in December, so I guess we got that coming up. No mention of ladder though, so that's a little bit disappointing. We're what, probably 6 weeks out from release now, and they haven't really put any more update out on the servers. We're still looking at queues to get on at peak times. And one thing I noticed, it used to cap the game creation time. You had to do it at least a minute apart. In the last little update they did, I noticed that they did mention that they would be changing that, and I noticed it here recently. I was doing runs that were probably taking me about 30 seconds, something quick, but when I went to come out and create another game, the timer was at 55 seconds. So I think it depends on time of day. So they've kind of changed that to where if you're at a peak time, unfortunately, your game creation time can be even longer. So it looks like, depending on how many are on the server at a time, that it maxed out to me somewhere between minute and a half, 2 minutes. So that's kind of unfortunate. So I mean, we'll see. They're kind of leaving it open-ended for December, but my hopes are not high based off what I've seen so far. Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed the video, give me a like and subscribe. Join us on Discord. I hadn't checked it today. We're probably over 300 members at this point and still growing. Join us there. And you guys have a great day. Keep on farming.